Hey there, greetings to my people from here at the Great Start Studio, where all of my drumming dreams are coming true. It's true. So this is where I'm shooting a video of the entire instructional series here in the studio, the 13 volumes of the London's Great Start Drum Set series. It's printed and the Kindle versions are available on Amazon as well as on my website, which is London's Great Start Drum Set. You can go there and check it all out. All my new videos from the studio will be available on that website for online lessons. Today I'm going to be talking about revealing some of my original drum heroes, what I call the Artistic Influence series. Drummers that I can actually see some of their playing in mine, that they've influenced me to that level. Drummers who truly changed my playing for the better, all the way through. There's some influence there in my actual hands and feet when I play. If in the studio, if I made posters of all the tribute, as a tribute to all the people, it'd just be every inch of every wall would be covered. It's just that these are the ones that have really, really influenced me in some foundational sort of way. So I made these posters as a tribute and a reminder of these great players. They're in my office. I'll be showing you. There's just too many to cover them all, but a handful that have really actually, I can see in my playing. There's so many great players who have inspired me in my drumming, but these are the select ones that have some way become a part of my style, my diversity, my teaching, my writing, and helped me develop my unique voice, which is a hard thing to find. You have to really listen inside. So anyway, enjoy the whole Artistic Influence series, and I'll be running them down, and I'll see you at the end. Hey, so next up in the Larry's Office Posters of Drumming Inspiration series is Billy Cobham. Now, Billy Cobham, I also, my first experiences were through Modern Drummer, and he was on the cover a number of times, and of course, Mahavishnu Orchestra, and he had a real sort of bombastic, very kind of meaty approach to his hands on the drums. He still has, quite large and many drum sizes in front of him in an unusual configuration, so he can kind of move in these concentric sort of circles with his hands. And but I really wasn't influenced by the Mahavishnu Orchestra stuff until later. I kind of went back and found out about all of that. So a lot of it was through Modern Drummer, and then it was through his solo work. And he had it was a cassette back then, but he had a thing. It was Billy Cobham's Glass Menagerie, and it was observations, and the drums were so strong on there, and a lot of instrumental work, and very, very clear, of course, to hear the drums. And if you want to hear clear drums, of course, the drummers who make solo projects are going to make sure that their drums are up in the mix so that you don't miss anything. And so it's very, very forceful. I remember that. And, it's reminiscent of Chambers later, where just very forceful single strokes around the toms, and that really affected me. It really affected me because I'd heard like bursts of notes and hand-foot triplets and things where they're kind of broken up, but just straight out, single strokes really got me into reconsidering my hand technique. I saw Billy in a clinic when I was in college in Seattle, and he was doing a clinic for Tama, and he came out, and he's pretty funny. He was playing, a snare drum out there, and he goes, about hand technique. Everybody asked me about hand technique, and he goes, well, you can play it like this, and he played traditional grip. And then he goes, and then he flipped it the other way, where his right hand is playing, in the regular grip, and then there's his left hand is playing regular grip, and his right hand is playing the traditional grip. And then he goes, or you can play like this. And then he played match grip, and he goes, and you can play it like that. And every which way, he's like, flailing on the snare drum. And then he goes, but don't play like this because it looks weird. And it was where both hands are playing traditional grip. And of course, and then he starts flailing around with that. And I really enjoyed this clinic, of course. And he had the big kit, and he's very powerful, very kind of determined sort of player, if that makes sense, where every note is, I mean, he's very, very strong in his notes, in his note playing, and in the technique that he's playing. A very kind of muscular sort of playing, even though, you know, he's obviously, you know, very fast, just from the wrist out, right? So fingers, anyway, it really affected me. And then so I got, I think it was Billy Cobham's Warning record after that. And there's some great playing. It was I don't know, it was kind of the sort of bombastic, sort of visceral sort of attack on the drums that he had. And I just think that for some reason that really, I don't know, it really affected the way that I started practicing. I started practicing in these kind of streams of notes. Now, ultimately, there's kind of organizational playing from limbs, various limb usages at the same time to create a phrase. And then there's sort of a kind of an Olympic sort of idea where you just take one hand and you just burst a 50-yard dash, right? And I'm just much more drawn to the organizational sort of idea. But it really affected me. It just affected me in a way that I hadn't really done before, where you just press notes out. So when I took that, it became part of what I call monster fills, when you really press these giant double bass fills out and with your feet. And like I said, those solo tracks affected me the most. Now, I had written a book called Quick Hicks, where he had, I sent him out a copy and through Modern Drummer, and he was gracious enough to endorse that. But his first response was a letter that, I think he was in Switzerland living at the time, and he had this response, and it was really quite funny. He was like, he's like, "Now, Larry, is this your first drum book?" And he started kind of going on, and I couldn't quite catch the tone. You know, it's like a text. It's very hard to know what the tone was. But it was really quite playful, and then he was like, "Yeah, I you know, I like your work, and I'd be happy to endorse it." And he wrote out an endorsement, and it was very kind of him. And so I have this kind of connection through that. But really, the forceful nature of playing, also, Billy was one of the very first guys I saw, along with Simon Phillips, where they're playing both handed. I mean, I cannot understate the life-changing event that was for me to open up my hands on both sides, and my right is playing my right side, my left is playing my left side. It's so monumental. I cannot imagine my drumming life without it now. It's one of the great giant things. I have a video talking about the big three things that I wish I was taught, that I was never taught in lessons or anything like that. That's one of them. And I really picked that up by seeing these clinics. And wow. Yeah, Billy's a huge part of that. So here, this is my tribute to Billy, and I owe those things to you.